Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the panel of the day. When we travel or do anything in life, we remember that it's not about the destination, but about the journey itself. We all get so excited when it's time for us to go to a new place. How are we going to get there? Are we going to take a plane, a train? The journey needs to match the excitement of the destination. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been stopped dead in our tracks. Airlines, cruise ships, and trains as a whole face an unprecedented challenge, leading to the question, will it ever be the same? This panel, Air, Land, and Sea, will give us a closer look at the companies who will adapt all aspects to meet the satisfaction of their customers. All in all, the aim of this panel is to show why these companies have survived and why they will continue to thrive post-COVID travel economy. I give you the moderator of the panel, Mr. Henri Roelings, the founder and the CEO of the Hospitality Net in the Netherlands. He is recognized as a thought leader in hospitality. He is a frequent guest speaker at industry events. He is also an advisor board member for the International Hotel and Restaurant Association. He's received awards such as the HSMA Top 25 Most Extraordinary Minds in Sales and Marketing back in 2014. Mr. Roelings, hello, and hello panelists to the YHS 2021.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, it was such a pleasure to have you all here today. So, Mr. Roelings, please take it away.
Thank you for this great introduction. And thank you for putting on yet another great YHS. It's always a pleasure to work with you. Now let's first start off with introducing a great panel this afternoon. We have Claire Pelly from Virgin Galactic, head of the astronaut office. We have Alain Leboursier, managing director at private jet company LunaJets, an EHL grad, by the way. We have Gary Franklin, vice president, trains and cruises at Belmont. And finally, we have Lorenzo Stoll, head of Western Switzerland for Swiss Airlines, and also an EHL grad. So now let me give you the possibility first to give a real quick introduction about yourself. Claire, can you start?
For sure. Hi, everybody, and great to be here this afternoon. I think this is one of my first virtual conferences that I've attended, and a very impressive setup, so I hope you've all enjoyed it too. My name is Claire Pelly. I'm head of the astronaut office at Virgin Galactic. That means, beyond being a great job title that I still love, that I am responsible for the community of around 600 future astronauts who've signed up to fly to space with Virgin Galactic. Many of those people have been with us for a long time. And so, talking about the journey as well as the destination, our job has been to keep those people engaged in the wait time before they fly. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but that has become as compelling a part of the product as the flight itself. So beyond looking after those future astronauts, but also looking at their end-to-end customer journey and ensuring that they have a fantastic experience from the moment of sign up to post their flight, and ensuring that that kind of thread of Virgin style of customer experience is running right through it from start to finish.
Okay. Alain, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. It's a very special occasion for me, especially after being graduated from EHL in 2013. It's my first YHS, and thank you, guys. Amazing organization. So I'm the managing director of LunaJets. LunaJets, it's a private jet charter booking platform. We became in 2020 the largest one in Europe. And what we do, we are the booking platform between the private jet operators and the end users. We are serving private individual clients, corporation, listed companies, private companies, government, etc., etc. We are here today in the Geneva headquarters, where we have about 45 employees, 25 brokers working around the clock, divided into desks, and serving the clients worldwide around the clock. We also have offices in Paris, offices in London, and soon 3 new offices to be opened in 2021. We faced real challenges, like all my colleagues here with me on the panel in 2020. We managed to be agile, seized any opportunities that we've seen, and work even more than the year before. But we'll talk about this later today, I believe.
Thank you, Alain. Let's move over to Gary.
Yeah, hello everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation to be a panelist. What I think is a very personal subject, and I'm looking forward to exploring all of the themes that come from it. I am English. I grew up in New Zealand. I have a German mother, English father, and because of that sort of mix, I grew up in travel. And so when I had to settle on a career, which I'd done a lot of finance training, I thought, well, it needs to be somewhere that I'm really engaged with. So I was very lucky to join Belmond more than 25 years ago. And for the last 12 years, I've been the vice president for the trains and cruises that sit within Belmond. So that includes the world famous Venice Simplon Orient Express. And I would like to think that we've been at the forefront of luxury train travel as it has grown around the world, to the point that we have now trains in Peru, Southeast Asia, Scotland, and the Venice Simplon Orient Express that goes all over Europe. So very much looking forward to exploring all of the themes that we're going to talk about in relation to air, land and sea. And thank you very much, and looking forward to it.
Good. Over to you, Lorenzo.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me back on the YHS panel. It's the second time I have the privilege to share my views and thoughts with you all. I'm very excited about the topics and the matters that we will be discussing in a few minutes. I'm the head of Western Switzerland for Swiss International Airlines, and based in Geneva. And from here, I'm in charge of running our business here. Mainly for short haul out of Europe. It's been, I took charge in 2013, and we did adapt the business model of Swiss so that we could be competing against the low-cost model that was prevailing in Geneva. Been successful with that, and since I think a bit more than 1 year now, in March 2020, we're trying to figure out how we're going to survive this COVID crisis on one side, but at the same time also figuring out what are all the opportunities that we can seize from this crisis, and putting our business model at question to make ourselves future able after the COVID crisis.
Good. Well, thanks everyone for this introduction. Now let's crack on, and let's start with a first question. And I would really like to get a very short answer from each one of you. Afterwards, we will have enough time to go in more detail, but this is really a short, quick reaction. So my question would be, how are you all doing at this very moment in your business, in your industry? How would you describe the situation in which you are today? And where do you think your business will be by the end of this year? Let's try to keep it super short. Try to use maybe one word, one word per question, but keep it short. But what we would like to know, really do like a quick scan, is to see where we are today in this industry for your respective companies. So Gary, would you like to start with this?
Yeah, thank you. I think challenged is probably where we are now. And how do we see, I would like to think that we are adapting and to try and be ready for the future.
Good. Lorenzo.
I think the key word is survival. We're fighting for our lives. The industry has lost 66% of its passengers. 371 billion revenue have vanished last year. And there's more than 17,000 aircrafts on the ground around the world, and the whole political discussions around limiting travel as such, because it could be a spreader of the pandemic, puts us dramatically under pressure. So I think the word is fighting for survive, but with a good spirit.
Perfect. Thank you, Lorenzo. Alain, how about you?
Client service, we're focusing on retaining the actual client that we have, and we still investing in client acquisition. Then on the dark side, it's impossible to forecast anything due to restrictions changing every day. And we are in a very, very challenging situation, but we're focusing on the service and on the quality of the service we're delivering to clients.
Thank you, Alain. Claire.
Mute.
Claire, are you on mute?
Sorry.
No problem.
That should really be the summary of a year of Zoom call, shouldn't it? Are you on mute? Anticipation is my word. We have been waiting to fly Richard Branson and start commercial operations for a long time. We have had challenges and successes along the way. We now are on the verge of achieving those things, despite the COVID background. There is a lot of work to do, but we're very excited about where we are heading.
Okay, thank you. So Claire, space travel must be the ultimate form of experience travel now. So my question to you is has your business has it been impacted by COVID? And how do you see the immediate future going forward?
We have been impacted by COVID. I think like everybody has. A year ago, we didn't quite know what was coming down the line. We have a large manufacturing facility, a spaceship that has been 2 spaceships in build, 1 in test. By definition, they need people within the hangar working on them. And so that threw up a number of challenges around having people able to work on the spaceship. And then, of course, the rest of us who are in all sorts of different roles across the business, working remotely as well. That said, I recognize we have not been hit as hard by any means compared to everybody else on the panel. And I'm sure other people you've been hearing from in the transport sector, we have been lucky that work was able to continue in Mojave, California, where we are building our spaceships, and over in Spaceport America, down in New Mexico, where we are testing or operate our spaceships from. So we are at this apex, as I say, of this project, because we are now looking down the line at completing the flight test program, then flying Richard Branson over the summer, and then beginning to fly all of our passengers to space and becoming a space line, which has been our ambition for many years now. Although COVID has had an impact on that, we have not had to grind to a halt in a way that many other industries and companies have had to. On the flip side, I think there has been a renewed anticipation for many people around travel. We all want to look ahead and think about the journeys that we're going to take when we're able to do this again. And we're thinking hard about what those journeys look like. And space for us is the ultimate journey. We often talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and when you have your basic needs fulfilled, where do you end up? Well, the ultimate top of that pyramid is self-actualization. And we know that spaceflight has a transformational impact on people. So we talk about the experience economy, experience travel. Actually, really, we're hoping to look at transformational experiences. And I think post-COVID, people will be even more willing to be able to enter into those sorts of experiences, given we've all been sat at home for such a long period of time.
Claire, what is the link between space travel and what you know of the techniques in the hospitality industry? Is there a link between what you do and how you apply those techniques in space travel and in preparing astronauts?
It's a good question. Yes, there is a very strong link. There is a creative tension between being a virgin business that puts people first, puts customers first, and having a technical setup which requires that people do as they are told by the pilots. And so that is something we are looking at all the time. How do you combine those two, that they are symbiotic and are in tension with each other? One thing I am very focused on is thinking how that customer experience threads right through, so that by the time people land in New Mexico, they already have a good sense of how we do service. They understand that we are a very Virgin company focused on the experience that people have in the lead up, and then when they get to their training, and then when they fly, so that they know that we are looking after them on the service philosophy, on the service side. And our service philosophy is all around being one step ahead, making sure that we have anticipated things for people so that they are able to forget about being looked after, know they are being looked after impeccably with fantastic service and style that they've been used to through their time in the community. And they can focus on the important thing, which is their training, getting onto the spaceship and having a successful and enjoyable flight. So we look at those two things as absolutely having to be hand in hand and supporting each other rather than being in direct conflict.
Thank you, Claire. Let's move on to Gary. Gary, Orient Express has announced new routes from Amsterdam, Geneva, Florence, Rome, and Paris. Orient Express also operates trains in South America and Asia. So if you look at the industry, how it is shaping differently and how consumers are looking for experiences, do you see any changes in the booking patterns, in the types of profiles of people that are booking trains, and are you changing anything on how you deliver the actual experience on a train?
Yeah, almost definitely. And I think, I've been luckily involved with this industry for 25 years. And I think we have seen quite a dramatic change in the customers who are looking for this sort of experience. I think train travel is getting a lot of attention, especially in Europe, where there's a lot of talk about return of the sleeper trains, these night trains that crisscross Europe. And I'd like to think we were at the sort of forefront of that. Traveling by train, it's very evocative. You have, and I think one of the biggest luxuries we're going to have in the future is about time. And I think train travel enables you to enjoy that time, if that doesn't sound too weird. And by traveling by train, the scenery is changing. You have time to relax. You're looking out the window. You're having time to have a relaxing meal on board. And I think what we're trying to do at Belmond is to try and deliver an experience that is not a museum piece. It's not history. It's got to be very relevant today. And we can do that through the staff we have on board, making real connections with the passengers that travel, to engage with them. Because I think in the future, what people are going to be looking for is some level of engagement. How do they have meaningful travel? Because I think in the past, people would just say, right, I'm going to go there for the weekend. I'm going to go there. I think that will change, that people will be looking for a deeper connection with the sort of travel experience that they have. And we think our trains around the world are going to enable people to have that. And it's going to be through the interactions with the other passengers on board the train, with the staff, with the service that we deliver on board, with the experience that we can offer off our train, but also enabling them to actually connect with the people that they're traveling with, their partners, their friends, things like that. So, really looking forward to it. And I think having new routes is a really important part, because historically the Orient Express, which I think was the jet travel of its time, was the space travel of its time, is opening up borders and enabling connections culturally, geographically, and we want to still be doing that with our sort of amazing trains.
Gary, I was checking out the Orient Express website, and looking for booking a trip in Europe on one of the trains, and what I saw is that most of the trains were fully booked until the end of the year.
Yes.
So business must be good. Is the booking pace picking up faster on the trains compared to the hotels?
Well, I think, we were very lucky that, a trip on the Venice Simplon Orient Express is, a very aspirational. People really want to do that. And, even though we couldn't operate during 2020, we were very lucky that people rebooked for 2021 and are rebooking for 2022. So we definitely feel that as and when people can travel, people will travel. And with creating these new routes to give people new options. And almost immediately the feeling and the press says that travel is likely, we see surge of bookings. And
Okay.
So definitely that demand is there, that pent up demand. But I think it's to have a different type of travel experience. A once in a lifetime travel experience is definitely there.
Thank you, Gary. Let's move on to Alain. Alain, if you look at what happened last year, February, March in airline travel, which was almost halted, you went through a different experience as a private jet operator. Can you share in a few sentences what happened to you as an organization?
Well, end of March last year, let's say the 10 last days of March have been the 10 best days of LunaJet's history, right before the lockdown. Why? Everybody wanted to come home. Everybody wanted to go home. We flew within 10 days, 58 new clients. We did around 120 trips, all right, to bring people back to their home, all right? Whether they were coming back from Latin America, South America, Asia, the Caribbean, everywhere, all right, until end of March. Then full Europe got into lockdown, and it's been the 10 next days were the worst days of the company, beginning of April. Then we had a very challenging rest of the months until June, and then it slowly reopened toward the summer and until end of September, all right? So we had a lot of leisure business and leisure trips from June to end of September. Then usually between October and December, you have the corporates flying again, and corporates were not flying anymore at all. They were not corporate travel. And then the leisure business picked up again in December with much more longer trips than we experienced in the years before. The typical European trip during the summer did not happen, but the client who could flew much longer haul. They went to the Caribbean because the Caribbean were open. They flew to Maldives, they flew to Seychelles, they flew to the Middle East. So basically we saw a peak in terms of values of trips and long haul, but a decrease in terms of volumes.
Thank you, Alain. Let's move over to Lorenzo. Lorenzo, being at Swiss, can you explain with the audience a little bit the role that Lufthansa Group has played in the Swiss airline survival during the pandemic in terms of synergies? And in addition, can you explain a little bit the details of the government aid which was granted to Swiss by the Swiss government? Can you share a little bit with us, what you went through during that period?
Yeah, I think maybe first of all, one needs to understand that currently in the airline industry, passenger airline industry, commercial, size does matter. And being for Swiss, being part of a group of the size of Lufthansa is of utmost importance, even without the pandemic. The Swiss market as such is not large enough to enable a business model like Swiss's one. We wouldn't be, if we wouldn't be part of Lufthansa, we wouldn't be the size we were even before the pandemic. Within the pandemic crisis, I think the first thing that did help Swiss survive or move on being part of Lufthansa is cash. Airlining is extremely cash intensive. We have very expensive assets that even if they don't work, they don't produce, they cost a fortune even to keep them on the ground. And our main concern was cash drain. So managing our cash flow. And here, the first few months of the crisis, the support of Lufthansa in terms of injecting cash in our daily business was of the utmost importance. Now, in the recovery phase, being part of Lufthansa is also very, very important for us in terms of synergies and rebuild and trying to understand the big traffic flows and where do we activate aircrafts for those traffic flows across the group. So here, again, we benefit from the sheer size of being one of the leading airline groups in the world. So coming back to the state support, as said, airlines are extremely cash intensive, and it's not a secret I'm sharing with you, but Swiss, we burn 2 million cash a day. And if you have no incomes like we had, and we lost, last year, we lost 65% of our revenues while we could not manage our costs down to that level. At one moment, you need somehow a support in terms of cash. And we've been able to conclude a credit contract with a Swiss bank consortium where the heavyweights in it were UBS and Credit Suisse, and a few others of about 1.5 billion Swiss francs credit line open. And that credit line is guaranteed by the Swiss Confederation. So should Swiss default on its debt of 1.5 billions, the state would cover for us. And important here is also to say that as long as we don't default on the payments, the Swiss taxpayer will not have to put one single cent into Swiss. So it's really a state guarantee. We didn't get the money from the state.
Good.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
One more note. It's not only Swiss. All airlines in the world have at one given point needed to be supported somehow, maybe by capital increases on the stock markets or by governmental bailouts. All of us, we just couldn't make it.
Okay, thanks, Lorenzo. So this ties in quite nicely to our next topic, which is about innovation, and the question to ask ourselves is whether the crisis will be also the genesis for many organizations in re-engineering their products and reinventing themselves, and also using new technologies as a way forward in the near future. Also looking at projects in sustainability, connecting that to consumer demand. But basically my question here is, probably all of you had very nice projects in the fields of sustainability and technology prior to COVID. Now we are still in the COVID period. We hope that we will be coming to an end soon. But during this period, have your organizations been able to maintain and keep up in the projected spending in technology innovation and in sustainability during this period, or have these expenditures been put on a hold for a future moment? If you have continued to spend in these fields, what is it that you spend your money in? So basically, share your story with the YHS audience on where you see innovation still happening today during this difficult moment. Claire, why don't you start with this? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but obviously space travel is a very specific niche and cannot be compared to classic travel companies. But yeah, so please go ahead and share your thoughts on this.
I think my response will be different from the other panelists, because unlike other areas, we have not been having to respond to a pandemic beyond the impact that has got on our kind of daily working practices, and on, building a spaceship. And so, we have, of course, seen innovation regardless. I would say I can probably make, just a more kind of real life example for just our working practices. the innovation in the technology communicating between our teams, the way that we have been able to continue working across the board. We are a very global team. I'm based in London. The majority of our team are based in either California or New Mexico. And we have been able to, I think, communicate much better than we did when we were still at those distances pre-COVID. And so, for example, just moving to a Zoom as opposed to just being on fairly outdated telephone calls. So I think my response there, Henri, would be more around the working practices within the organization, which I have seen great innovations in the way that we go about things. I have been impressed by watching the teams and how people have approached their workload. I think it has reinforced the ability to be flexible, working from home, and to be able to deliver the same level of output, even when we're in a different working structure. That is probably where we have seen the majority of innovations, rather than within the organization itself. Although I have also been extremely impressed by how the spaceship, people working on the spaceship day to day, both in Mojave and California and in New Mexico, have been able to continue their work with very strong protocols that have enabled them to still be able to come in, still be able to work alongside each other, which is necessary when you are building and testing, despite these restrictions in place. So I think others are probably best placed to talk about how the innovation has impacted their industry. But I have been impressed by the innovations that I've seen in our working practices, both working remotely and also given the landscape within the.
Thank you, Claire. Lorenzo, have you been able, or has Swiss been able to maintain its plans and budgets in terms of innovation and technology and sustainability during the past 12 months?
I think the answer is twofold. In terms of innovation for sustainability, we were somehow lucky enough that between 2014 and 2019, we had invested 8 billion Swiss francs in renewing our fleet. And there we now have more efficient, more effective aircrafts. And this is a first step of a contribution to reducing our environmental footprint. Now, if we look at all our projects we had in terms of improving customer experience on board our aircrafts, on developing new technologies, for example, seamless travel, or improving the booking experience, the payment experience. This has all been put almost on hold because we just can't afford to have cash drains for projects. It's just the money is not around. However, on the other side, we've been pushed very fast to our limits. For example, in refunding, we were faced on a normal day in 2019, we were getting about 500 to 600 refund or requests a day. In April 2020, it was several hundred thousands a day. And there, just the technology and the processes we had has vanished. It was the stress on the system was by far too much. And there we were somehow pushed to be super innovative, super fast in finding a solution to that customer issue with almost no money around. And there, I have to say, it was striking to all of us at Swiss and in the Lufthansa Group how innovative and creative people are when you remove some, let's say, good old project management boundaries, decision steps, and you just tell the organization, guys, you're the expert of refund. We need a solution. Get kicking. And the guys do. And they come up with things that are for sure not perfect, but they work. And this is currently, I think, the biggest learning for our organization is that this empowerment and this agility that has never been really designed within our processes has brought innovative approach. And I think that innovation in the way we run the company, in the way we manage the company, is a good learning from the crisis.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Gary, how is Belmont still innovating these days in difficult market conditions?
No, it is. Look, we were very lucky in 2019, we were acquired by LVMH. And yes, like every other hospitality and hotel industry, we were challenged to really think about what is going to happen next. And I think one of the real interesting reasons that LVMH acquired Belmont was that it was really about customer experiences. And so what we didn't really stop. We obviously reviewed all of our capital expenditure projects, but actually we really concentrated on those projects that are going to make a real difference to the customer experience in the future. And we really sort of focused, we put a microscope on that. And we continued with those projects that we thought were going to allow us to come out of this stronger and better able to meet what we thought the customer expectations were going to be around, which is having a fantastic experience, really connecting with the destination that you're traveling to, and making sure that they leave, Belmont having had the experience that they were, or exceeding the experience that they were hoping for. So actually, we were lucky. We actually brought some projects forward, and someone said that we wanted to really automate the sort of mundane, but we wanted to really focus or exceptionalize and personalize the experience. So a lot of projects we've done are around really understanding our clients, what the client's expectations are. And then once we've started learning that, is making sure and challenging each of our trains, each of our cruises, and each of our hotels and some of the most amazing destinations around the world, to make sure that we make it even better for the guests when they can get there. And so we have been in a lucky position that, yes, there's been some projects that have been deferred, but actually some projects that have been accelerated with the view that we can be even better coming out of it. And I think the market is going to, separate more. There's been a big push to digitalize things, but I think in the luxury end of the market, it's going to be even more important that we can personalize and have that human touch, to have the empathy, to have the emotional intelligence with the clients that go to our trains, our cruises, and also our hotel. So a lot of work's been going in there.
Thank you, Gary. Over to you, Alain. Has LunaJet been able to maintain its spending projection during these difficult times in terms of innovation?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we are a very well capitalized company. Over the 13 last years, we grew organically. We always reinvested the money we were making, and we always strengthened our balance sheet. We never raised any money at smoking valuations like many other competitors did in the private jet business. The company is privately owned. We have no debt and no investor. All right. So basically, having working like that for the past 13 years actually created opportunities for us when the competition was craving to raise money and survive on this market, when we actually kept on spending on the innovation, on the technological aspect as well for the clients, okay, to deliver them the best possible and the fastest booking experience they could have. That's one thing. And also on the tech side for our employees, okay, in order to give them the best tools, the best technological tools in order to respond to the clients in almost no time, all right? And provide with the client the best possible offers, the best possible service, okay, in less time than the competitors. So yes, we did keep on spending on technology, on innovation, and also on the client acquisition side, okay? Our competition last year cut on budget, cut on investment. We took the opposite side, and we increased our investment in client acquisition and technology.
Thank you, Alain. Okay, so we're on top of the hour. We have still about 10 minutes to go. I see that there are some questions coming in for Claire. And obviously, space travel is something which is exciting for all of us. So why don't I just start off with shooting a couple of quick questions to you, Claire? Can I do so?
Of course.
So let me shoot off with the first question. In trying to compare the hotel room with the spacecraft, in which the astronauts will be sitting, is there a minibar on board?
I wish. No, there will not be, but we will have a party when we come back again.
Okay.
The Virgin style of it. The Virgin style always has a good party, and so.
Are there any astronauts, frequent flyer astronauts booked? So people booking multiple trips.
That is a very good question. At the moment, no. We've only allowed people to buy one ticket each because clearly they have their place in line and they need to have that experience first. Something that we recognize, though, is that our best brand ambassadors will be the people who fly first. And so that is why we are putting a lot of focus on ensuring the experience that people have, both on the flight and on the customer experience around that, while they're in the community and before they fly in New Mexico and afterwards, is optimal. So that when they come back, they will want to do that experience again, but they'll also tell all their family and friends, and also probably have a platform because people will be interested in hearing their story, which will also encourage more people to sign up. So we have no doubt that people will buy another ticket once they have gone up. And we are ensuring that they have a fantastic experience that will make them want to do so, but will also encourage other people to sign up too.
Claire, another question. If space travel is becoming more and more accessible for a larger customer group, how much will be a typical ticket, let's say, between now and 10 years from now?
It's a good question to ask. We always talk about democratizing space. That said, it's difficult to democratize space before you have access to it on a regular basis. Now, our existing future astronauts, not all of whom I would say are what people expect. People expect them to be super high net worths and celebrities. Some of them are, but a lot of very normal people that have always wanted to travel to space and have had this ambition since they were very young. And so they have used all the disposable income that they have in order to be able to afford this ticket. That probably, is representative of our existing 600 future astronauts. But we have been very open that the ticket price will need to go up before it comes back down again in order to make sure that we become profitable as soon as possible. So I can't give exact figures, but I think if you expect to chart it, then you can expect to see the ticket price rising before it then falls again. So those early pioneers, like the early pioneers of aviation, will be paying a premium in order to be able to do this. But in doing so, they will have the badge of honor that they're amongst the first. And they also pave the way for a more commercial business, which means that many more people beyond them will be able to fly at a lower price point when we're able to deliver on that too.
Claire, a final question on space travel coming in. The question is, how do you think space holidays will be in the future? Will it be Star Trek-like, Star Wars, Moonraker, Interstellar, or more like Wall-E?
That's excellent. I'll answer that in a slightly different way. I think we are all amazed by the growing interest in space. Everybody loves space. Everybody has been fascinated by space. If you were born in the 1960s, you saw the moon landings and you had a lifelong fascination with space. But, the only way to go up was with the governments, largely the US or Russia, or the Soviet Union at the time, and then China more recently as well. And now we are in this second space race, the press likes to term it, where you have Richard Branson, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all with their own space companies. And behind them come all manner of things. So I am amazed, entertained, and fascinated by the fact that any given week, there are a number of new ambitions for space. The one I like that I saw most recently, a hotel, which looked a little bit like a kind of a Ferris wheel with pods that go around so that you can get views of the Earth. I don't know which one will come first, is the honest answer to that question. But I do think if we can all provide regular economical access to space All the space providers are in this together. Richard, Elon, Jeff, and anyone else out there doing it too. And all manner of things is possible in the future. Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. Jeff Bezos wants to go to deep space. Richard wants to transform life here on Earth. So I think you can probably expect to see all of those things. But one thing I would hazard is it probably takes an awful lot longer and a lot more money than people ever anticipate. So it may be sometime yet.
Thank you, Claire. Question for Alain.
Yes.
Alain, so somebody in the audience is asking, during this period, this difficult period of passenger travel, did you have an opportunity to use your capacity for other purposes like cargo?
It's a very good question. When I earlier told you that in April, the private jets stopped flying, we had a management crisis and we said, what is still flying in the air? Aircraft are still flying, but cargo aircraft are flying. So basically we created a task force within 2 weeks and we're starting to do cargo charter broker. And during end of April, May, June, July, until the end of the year, we delivered and shipped more than 250 million face masks to Europe and Africa, and tons and tons of gloves, gowns, and all potential medical equipment that could be shipped. So yes, we did, but not on private jets, because the private jets are very small and they were not cost effective in order to carry all these equipments. So we did use spare capacity from passenger airlines and usual cargo freighter aircraft.
Thank you, Alain. Question for Lorenzo. I think you already in some way responded to the question, but I'll let you further expand on it. So the question is, Lorenzo, now that the forecasting is made almost impossible due to constantly changing regulations, should companies like Swiss rather, 1, make plans for all different scenarios, 2, wait and see what happens, or 3, create a resilient business models that are able to adjust to all possible challenges and relative changes? What do you think?
I think we need to be very, very forward-looking, and we need to be very picky on which scenarios we do believe will materialize and develop our position and our strategy from there. I don't think we can wait and see, because the market is by far too dynamic for that, and the costs included in waiting and seeing are unbearable. Exploring every opportunity is also not the right way. But if I look at what we're planning, we're always working on 3 scenarios. With the ones we could, I think, like everybody, we call them low, medium, and high, and we work on those. One thing we've learned also with the pandemic is that even if we think that an airline is a very sturdy process thing that works on those, we can be extremely flexible and agile, especially in our capacity dispatch. So for example, the big boom that is coming up at Easter is the Spain and the Balearic Islands. And so as we have spare capacity, we're now able to send wide bodies to Spain just to answer to the capacity, and then put them back in storage when we will be done with that. So that was also, I think, flexibility is the key word, and be selective on your scenarios.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Last question for the panel. It goes to Gary. Gary, there are a lot of students and future employees attending this YHS conference. And a question that is being asked, if you as an industry professional being in your position, in looking back at the last 12 months, what do you think would have been your most important business lesson that you would like to share with the YHS group?
I think trust in the brand is probably the most important, and it's easier said than done. But I think you demonstrate that by the care and attention that you give to your customers, and that the way that you do look after your associates. And I think customers are very, they're going through a difficult situation as well. And whatever's happening, we don't understand the situation they're in. So when they ring up, they want to make sure they can contact someone. They want to make sure that they can speak to someone, and that the people they speak to continue to convey the brand values around your company. So I think making sure that you continue to look after your customers and also your associates was really important for Belmont, to make sure that we kept the integrity of the brand, to keep the value of the brand, to keep the the trust in the brand, because all of those customers who were treated well, and we made sure all of our reservation staff were always available on the phone. And when those people rang up, and Lorenzo talked about all those people asking for refunds, if you made it horrible for them, if you made it that they had to ring up 15 times, we don't think that they'll book with you again, and it can transfer to another brand very quickly. So customer care and associate care was really important for us.
Thank you very much, Gary. So, well, guys, thank you very much for your input. I think this wraps it up for this panel. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you, Alain. Thank you, Gary. And we head back to mission control.
Panelists, I thank you for your time and discussion. Your ideas to resculpt show us students and fresh graduates that, the industry is not just worth rejuvenating, but it's worth using these hardships in order to improve our mechanisms. And at the start, you mentioned a few thoughts of what you thought was important for our future, and those words were anticipation, adaptation, and survival. Kate and I were saying how much we thought that was an optimistic view. So we thank you for that. And Kate, what was your favorite part of the panel?
Well, I thought it was really interesting to get to listen to so many different types of businesses, discuss so many different types of transportation. So it was really a diverse panel, and we got a great array of ideas. A couple of my highlights were when Ms. Pelly talked about how the COVID crisis actually increased communication within the corporations. So that was a great bright side. And also when Mr. Franklin was discussing the beauty of journeys by train.
So we thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your day. It was truly a pleasure and an honor to listen to you all. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
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 All right, everyone. And with that, we bring the second day of YHS 2021 to a close. Today, we began a re-sculpt of the hospitality industry, from reimagining the customer travel experience to going into a deep dive of hospitality's ever-progressing human side.
We hope you are as inspired as we are, whether it was with Mr. Billiard's to-do list on his everyday tasks, or with Mrs. Bailey's idea of values must come first before any job or any personal factors.
And to our YHS 2021 student delegates, keep up the great work. We were amazed by your creativity already today with your creations for the Dorchester Collection Global Challenge. Don't forget to keep working on your YHS mission, which ends tomorrow morning, and continue your innovation on your YHS challenge, which comes to a close on Thursday.
And don't forget, keep staying active on the virtual web. You should delegates definitely go on the discussion board and talk about what you've done today, or see the conversations that have already appeared. And everybody else, please keep tagging us with YHS Global or YHS 2021 with the hashtag so we can see what you're doing on social media. It's important through a virtual summit that we keep this virtual family by, seeing what we're doing with the summit. So please keep doing that.
Yes, we love communicating with you all, and we will see you all again tomorrow as we move into rejuvenation. We will be developing a fresh perspective in this exciting new world. If you love to travel or dream of entrepreneurship or both, you will not want to miss our excellent speakers and panelists.
So that we say, good evening, good afternoon, and good night to everyone. See you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.